Hi everybody, we are back at IMEX, Ljubljana Talks. We have a special guest here in our podcast studio, Janet Sperstad, a seasoned professional with 25 years of experience in meeting and event management. As the faculty director of Madison College Event Management Business School Solutions and a faculty member of their prestigious Event Management Associate Degree Program, she has shaped the field through her expertise. Janet really has a lot of experience also in teaching younger generation and doing something which is really important for all of us, because after Corona, younger generation lost a little bit of passion for our industry.
Yes.
So Janet, how is to work with younger generation, and what are you doing to actually
inspire them to come into our
Yes,
industry,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Well, it's interesting because our industry has changed and their focus of what they thought it was has changed. Like for all of us, what we do, we are doing it differently. And so people are working differently as well anywhere in the world. And they are really interested. The younger generation loves autonomy. They love to do what they want to do it when they want to do it. They're the digital age. They're the ones that want to take micro moments and be able to own it and then go play, and then own it and go play. And so I think that's no different than a lot of businesses. They still are very interested in doing work with people. And ultimately, that's what we do. We create experiences for people, and they love that piece of it. Whether they go on the supply side of it, being a service provider or hotel, or the event management side of it, they also really love and inspired by travel. You know, they have the backpacks and the luggage on their back, and they're ready to go. So it's really helped shaping what is it we do, which has changed a little bit more, because we are looking at creating experiences that have micro moments of connection, as well as the big bangs of excitement and brand recognition. And so they're interested, and yet they are offered a lot of opportunities to go off and do different things. And so they work differently, they think a little bit differently, but every day I'm blessed to be able to work with them because they inspire me and keep it fresh for me.
Really nicely put. But tell me, do you see, COVID as one element of change, right? Or let's say a reason why we changed in 2 years, technologically for 5 years. How do you see technology influencing not just us as society, but especially the young people that you work with?
You're right. So when we talk about the young people, we're talking about the X and Y's often about. And so they've grown up differently, right? One generation grew up with really the internet and apps. The other one is all streaming. Very different thinking, very different conception, very different way of communicating. And so it's different languages, and we have multi-generations still in the workforce. And so it's about how to access them and talk to them. I know on many days, my students wish I was a bot. Just give me the answer, right? But it's how to communicate with them in the way they want to be communicated to. And technology is a tool to do that. But they are different, where it's like, hey, I don't want to stream this. My data is low. I want to be able to download this. So it's like all my lectures, when they're virtual, are within 10-minute bite sizes. So I have to think about, how do I package this content to connect with this person, because they stream it or they download it, or we have the apps for it. We have learning management. So it's just different kinds of ecosystems. Technology is a tool to help connect.
So you have been able to figure it out in a way that you're doing a 10 minutes bite sizes for the online lectures?
Yes, so every single one, it's like, so I'm like, okay, this is closing out this. And then I reopen. So if they want to pause it and move on or go practice an assignment, then they know where to come back to. So it's really thinking about it differently. Though my lectures are still the same amount of size, I still have the same amount of competencies, but I have to think about, how do I connect with that audience differently?
That's really, really innovative. I really like that.
Yeah.
Because often when we think about the educational process and the university and faculties and trying to, go back into the theory, which in its essence is the same for the last, 100 years almost. I mean, we work in an industry that its economic base is probably designed from 1920s or 1930s, you know.
Right.
So where do you see the business model change?
For academia or our
Industry.
You know, no one is born with a crystal ball, and we want to do the very thing we can't, which is predict the future. What we can do, and what I do, is sort of look at where are the weak signals? Where is water flowing? And what I'm seeing is people don't want the volume of having multiple interactions. They want real connections. They want to be able to sit down and have that conversation. So really thinking about designing the event space so it's just not all sessions and sitting in there, but there's common space with quiet spaces, with gathering spaces for 6 to 8 people, really designing about how do we help people connect more than just be a consumer of education. And that will continue to be.
I think this also influences then the academia in the similar way.
Yes, right. Definitely. Definitely. And it's, you know, academia is much more structured. The faculty have been trained in a certain way, but I see inspiring work done in academia. You can teach an old dog new tricks. Not that I called myself old, nor my colleagues.
I see also a switch from logistics to high-tech business. Actually, I used to say many times to my colleagues, we are now a high-tech industry.
Yeah.
If you do all types of events,
Yeah.
especially hybrid and
Yeah.
digital and virtual, metaverse and so on. So how can you get that knowledge, you know? How do you communicate? How do you connect with different faculties to get this specific knowledge we need now, actually? So
Yeah.
this is urgent, actually.
Well,
So,
we go underground and we're a secret
Yeah.
group.
yeah.
But I mean, the world is a small place, and so people who are really in academia teaching event management, there's not a lot of people out there. We identify, we know who we are, we have shared practices. There's a faculty forum here that we gather, just sort of like every other attendee, right? You get into your cohorts, you talk to your language, you connect in different ways. Even in academia, I work at a 2-year technical college, very specific. People come in, get this knowledge, and they go off and get the job. 4-year university has a little longer runway with them. They have 4 years, then they go on to advanced degrees. So the needs are different. How I communicate, how they communicate, it's very different. I get 24 months with them. So I'm in and I'm out, and I give them the core sets. So it's different and nuanced in every job. But academia is really shaping because every day we see the future sitting in our chairs. And if we don't change, we lose them. So we're almost somewhat of a weak signal of understanding what's going to be happening to the buyers coming into the next part of the industry.
Being in touch, I mean, you are an expert on our industry, and you're in touch with the future, right? And we are now at IMEX, which is a part of our industry. It's an integral element of our yearly calendar. And we do it in a very similar fashion from year to year. I mean, IMEX is really trying very hard to bring in content and opportunities for development and attraction. But the essence is this. So do you see this concept of the stands and all this as where we need to stay, or do you see a way that we could somehow do it in a different way?
I still see these stands happening. I also serve on the International Association Exhibitions and Events Board of Directors. We're trade shows, we're exhibitions. The people who are members of this are people who really do the large shows and do exhibitions. They are here to stay because at the end of the day, we are humans who need to see, feel, and touch. And so this stand, this opportunity to really connect with someone and explore that product, that will be around forever. The shape and size, I mean, the economics of it, shipping information, the labor, all of that will drive what does it look like? Because if it's not economical and appropriate for exhibitors, they're out. And so we'll find what is the right ecosystem for it. But people are still going to be walking down the aisles looking because there's also that serendipity. Oh, I hadn't thought about that, or I saw that, right? So that unconsciousness that goes in there and be like, hey, I saw your stand. I remember that. That will be true. And there's nowhere else in events that offer that opportunity than in trade shows.
But can you anyhow name a segment of our industry that needs immediate change?
No. But what I can answer is that I think we really have to explore the multidisciplinary aspects of the work of event planning. We are in the business of humans, exploring and really connecting to the cognitive sciences, the social sciences. Before someone's a title walking through our halls, they are a person. So designing that experience, we really need to move the needle and not just look at floor plans that are based on the 30 by 30 utilities, right? So it really is going to ask us to think differently, be more creative, and using different tools of logistics than we have before. You know, immediate need, yes, sure. Let's talk about travel. Let's talk about the economics of it. Let's talk about sustainability. Those things are immediate need in the world. We can be a part of those things. Let's address them, but you have to have courage and you have to have stamina. And so, is our industry ready for it? I don't know. Were they ready for it 10 years ago? No. Are they ready for it now? I don't know. But what I think is we have to really look at multi-disciplines of how we bring our work to life and not just be so narrow of events. If you look at engineering, there's so many aspects of engineering. Why is there just one aspect of event management and you do logistics? We're starting that with Event Design Collective with Ruud Johnson. Bless him, he's moving the needle. We need more of that. We need more cognitive behavior sciences. Why aren't we studying how ideas spread? And saying, as a professional, I can help you accelerate your ideas. We don't talk about that, we talk about the logistics. So I think shaping what we do is gonna be our future of providing value into the business.
I'm going to be a little bit provocative now.
Yeah.
Mythology has been around for 15, 20 years, right? And in a way, we keep coming around and talking about the same things, just in a slightly different context. But it's about how will we do differently? How will we change? How will we? But we are doing the same, we're having the same conversations over and over again. Why are we not? We are constantly thinking about a revolution, but we are not evolving a lot of times.
I agree. I cannot disagree. Look at the stakeholders who are leading the conversation. And that will tell you why it hasn't.
It's about comfort zone. You know? We are staying there, you know, but the magic is always out of the comfort zone.
Do we have any behavioral scientists here? Do we have any architects here to even think about how to design this space?
Yeah.
Like, we're very insular.
Come back to the creating of the boxes and, you know, the whole concept, the setup, the layout. It's something that I think we've had on the table as a topic on and on. We know that there's been, you know, so many theoreticians coming, showing their book, saying, oh, I got the recipe. But then, as you said, you know, the industry is not reading the book. We just keep on repeating the same thing because it works.
And it's easier.
It's easier, right? But at the same time, we've been having these conversations about, you know, our industry struggles with finding new people. We struggle with embracing new technologies. We're having trouble reaching new people. Where would you say we need to actually start?
We need to be more diverse and open about it. We're leaving people outside of our audience that do the work, that support the work, and our stakeholders, because we are not inclusive enough. We do not create a sense of belonging for everyone. I just moderated a session for A Voice for All on neurodivergence and neuroinclusion events. We are a very small sector of who we interact with, and we do not cast a wide net of belonging, and we don't welcome everybody. And that's controversial, but we don't. Look at the people who are here. Yes, they're all professionals that relate to this. But before they're a professional, they are a human.
Yeah.
We have to come back to the people, and we have to think outside of ourselves and look at different perspectives and be more welcoming to all. And that's where our solutions will come, is not from ourselves, but learning from different perspectives. And so the next generation, right? I'm dealing with people who I don't identify in a binary situation. We better bring that on, and we better start really being more inclusive, because they make choices based on that. Because they're like, oh, well, I can't express myself that way? Not going in it.
So we're missing out opportunities.
Oh, absolutely. If you're not purposefully including, you are always going to be excluding. And you're going to be losing out on talent, on stakeholder opportunities, on customer opportunities. And so we have to really expand our sense of belonging.
Janet, what would you say to somebody, this is a boring question, of course, who comes from the hotel and he said, okay, your system of education does not prepare young generation enough for real hard work in our business.
Right.
What would you say?
I hear that. I hear that, right? They're like,
it's quite often in Slovenia.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, we have students, but they don't want to work.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it is about, our industry is a difficult industry. And I tell students, if you don't like stress, get out. Because it is stressful, because everything looks good on paper until you add humans. And so you can't control that. And so, yes, academia has a point in time where we get to have an interaction with students. But even for a four-year university, it's 48 months. We have to distill a lot of knowledge. And I say to the employers, we can't prepare them experience. We prepare them with knowledge. We are a partnership in the long term of this student, in the long term of this employee. I will prepare them with the knowledge to come in, but you have to really provide experience and mentorship. It's a partnership. I can't do that, and the students won't pay for it. And so we have to work together on how to blend that together. And also the student knows, yes, I'm not going to come in and be a director or a manager. It's like, yeah, it doesn't work that way. You have to go out, because knowledge only gives you access to be able to do things, but experience and wisdom is where the success comes. So it's that partnership, and it's hard because we have so many jobs open to us. They're like, give me students, and they're like, they don't want to work. And it's like, well, you have to help shape them, set the expectation, because their life before they met you was a different lifestyle. And so we can't ask them to be something that they're not, but having clear expectations of what success looks like and then what failure looks like, and being very clear. And so that's where it's been really helpful, because some of my students lead some of North America's largest trade shows. And so they were like, oh, you weren't kidding. It is up at 4 and it is down at midnight. And then you turn around, it's like, yes, it is. Yes, it is. So, it's like, yes, you're going to be wearing different kinds of shoes in the middle of the day and changing it and all those things, right? And so until they finally do it, right, that's when doing really becomes, oh, but here's the knowledge that I gave them, and then they have to get the experience to do it. So it's that partnership, and it's always difficult. There's always going to be success and always failure in that process.
Do you have any kind of recipe for cooperation between generations in the industry? Because this is, to me, also quite important, actually. It's about inclusiveness, about sharing knowledge and so on, but it's not always easy. What would you suggest? What is the recipe, actually?
Patience and grace.
Okay.
And I always tell them, we need patience and grace with all of us, because we have different people who speak different languages. We're different ages, different cultures. We grew up differently. And so you have to find your voice to ask questions and give each other patience and grace to learn from it. Because I said, it's not my job to learn. It's your job. It's my job to help access information in different ways. So it's really just sort of setting that tone of, we're not perfect, we're humans. So when I have a non-binary student and I call them by something they didn't want to be identified with, I'm like, I'm so sorry, I grew up in a different time. That meant plural. They wasn't a singular person. And I'm like, I am committed to working on it. And just being honest. And they're like, okay, thank you. And I may do it again, but they're like, okay, I'm like, okay, great, okay, I can do this.
Would you ask at the beginning of the class of if there's someone who doesn't feel like or he or she at the beginning of the year, or how do you
No.
go around with that?
No, because that's a quiet conversation, right? It's a
Okay.
very personal thing, and they may not be willing to share that. It doesn't,
Okay.
you know. So it's just I would
Right.
do that.
Oh,
Ooh. I would do that, you know, in a journaling assignment to explore that with them so that they could identify themselves of how they want to be identified in whatever manner it is. And so I would do that in that exercise because that's a very quiet, personal kind of conversation. You know, but like, oh, on my name tag, I wrote she, her, just so they know right away, regardless, right? Just put it out there. Because I also believe that, you know, in my role of the next generation, I need to show them how to find their voice and be themselves. And if you can't see it, you can't be it.
it's impossible to guess. Sometimes we live in a world, as you say, it's important that we start learning how to be open, but at the same time, we need to also say, you know, we cannot guess what you feel. You need to tell us as well. So I think, you know, social media allows you to kind of pick and choose, you know, so many forms. So in this sort of a situation, I know there's many non-binary people here in this event. You know some of them, but you sometimes you cannot guess, and you don't want to hurt someone's feelings just for not knowing. So sometimes it's important to express that feeling as well.
It is. And just sort of, you know, recognize each other as humans and saying, if did I approach you correctly? Are you comfortable with that? You know, as you sort of have more of a conversation and you peel back the layers of that communication and relationship. We're people first, right? We're people
Beautiful.
first.
Amazing. Well, we usually finish with short questions and your quick answers. So
Okay.
I have some for you. First
Got it.
one is live or digital?
What's that?
Live or digital?
Live.
Okay. Any comment? No?
Nothing replaces it, right?
Yeah? Agree.
Nothing. And it's ethereal, and something we love about that.
Top.
We like the consumption of, because then it's like, we can't replace that. And it's like, I went to it, oh, it's there, right?
Another one. Shopping center or local market?
Oh, local market, right? Because we always want to have a sense of place, and we want to feel that we know something about that. And so we want to see that authenticity. We want to experience it, even if I have just an afternoon to go off and be a part of.
Top. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the last one is what?
Sweet or savory?
Sweet and salty. Oh, thank you, gentlemen. What a pleasure. Thank you so much.